Fresh from the beach while playing a round of speed chess with death, it's the DigiGods. And now please welcome two guys who prefer their seventh sign from the next page that I haven't gotten to yet. That was brought to you by Wade Page Break Major.
So that's an outtake. We're using some of Corey's outtakes now. That was originally an intro sent in by Mario Mendez. Thank you, Mario. But Corey, on our first first attempt, that he flubbed it because he wasn't looking ahead. I'd printed them all out, and he didn't. I guess I didn't put it all on one page. So anyway, thought that was a little funny tidbit. Outtake Corey. Thank you, Corey. You make even outtakes. You make them golden.
Yes,
Mark, do you have? Are you getting a sense? By the way, next week our big Halloween show.
Whoa!
We're doing. Yeah,
hey,
we got a whole Halloween deal next week, so we're gonna get all spooky. But are you getting a feeling yet that what's in the ether as far as Oscars are concerned? Are you starting to kind of smell anything out? Anything falling by the wayside?
You know what? I think I think Pan.
Boy, that crashed and burned. Man, that was unbelievable. And The Martian, who saw that hanging out as long as it has?
I know. You know what? I'm happy for it.
Yeah, I am too.
I don't know if you've seen it, but
love the artwork that was posted to the Facebook page. The Matt Damon Team America joke that was really funny.
And you know what? I was sent the Team America Blu-ray by
Yes.
a beloved listener of this show.
Yes, well,
it's awesome.
Interesting how that dovetails with today's show.
Are you saying that there's
We'll
stuff
see.
and junk?
We'll see. Anyway,
By the way, we have not answered your question. About
Yes,
what
so-
we think is going on in
yes.
terms of the Academy Award.
have you seen anything that you feel is a Best Picture contender?
Well, it seems like here's the thing. I think people thought Black Mass would maybe be up there, but I think Black Mass is just not happening.
I have a Black Mass actually, right, kind of in my
In your pants.
Yeah,
Okay, here's what I think.
It wasn't black. It was sort of greenish yesterday, but it's black today.
You may want to get that checked out.
Yeah.
Black Mass not happening. I don't think Bridge of Spies is going to be that kind of a movie.
It feels like filler Spielberg.
Yes,
Doesn't it?
It does.
Like filler Spielberg, filler Tom Hanks. Like it's like their other thing, the Italian guy in the airport. That damn.
Catch Me If You Can.
Not Catch Me If You Can.
The
Terminal.
Yeah, that's true. It's wheel spinning Spielberg until the next big thing.
Yeah.
Carol probably get a lot of attention.
Carol's going to get a ton of attention.
I'm curious about Joy because David O. Russell and
I've heard there's a chance that every movie nominated for Best Picture this year might be a woman's name. We've certainly got two. Yeah,
that's true. So Joy, we'll see. That one's kind of a
Joy is a great story. It looks like a lot of fun.
I know, and the Academy loves
David O.
Russell and Jennifer Lawrence at this point. The Revenant, we'll see. I think Steve Jobs might be up there for some acting awards, right?
Yeah. You know what the kind of the dark horse right now is Room, which won the Audience Award to everyone's shock at Toronto. And
I got the invite. I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
Brie Larson, finally coming of age in that movie, finally kind of crawling out of the indie film basement and saying, "Here I am. I'm just as good as Jennifer Lawrence." And in fact, she just replaced Jennifer Lawrence in a movie.
What?
Yeah, and so she's going to get a lot of attention. She may get a nomination, and I think it's the guy. The director is the guy that did that Big Head movie. What was that thing with the big inflatable head?
Oh, is that the one where Michael Fassbender wore a head?
Yeah, it's that guy.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Frank, it's the guy who did Frank,
right.
and I never would have seen this movie in him. And it's A24 releasing it. A24 hits a home run with this thing. They could suddenly be in Weinstein Fox Searchlight territory.
I like them.
I have
promising.
seen it. I have seen it, and I think it's really good. I think it's really, really good. It remains to be seen how it sort of plays against all these other big hitters that are going to have a lot of, huge awards budgets behind them. But
it feels like her previous Short Term 12, where it's like this little movie that people like but can really cut through the clutter.
I think it can because it's got. I'm not going to tell you or anyone else what the subject matter is. It's really delicate subject matter. It's the kind of film where you're like, you know what? I could see that completely running aground and going just off the cliff, just being either so maudlin and melodramatic and overplayed, or exploitive, or I could see it being so restrained that it just doesn't feel credible. I mean, it's a very, very delicate balancing act emotionally, and that's the kind of film where you don't even know if you have the performances right. I could see them just saying, you have to modulate it every step of the way in the performances and in the editing and with the scoring. Like, everything has to be just so perfectly modulated for it to work emotionally. But I'll say this, there are 2 huge emotional moments in it, and they have to work. And if those 2 moments don't work, the rest of the film falls apart. And in both of those moments, I was sitting there knowing that the moment was coming, and I was thinking, okay, you're going to, because I know this moment is coming, and I know how I have to react to this moment if this film's going to work for me. So I felt almost like a judge at an Olympic event saying, okay, impress me. And you know what? Son of a bitch, those moments worked. I sat there, I was bawling. I was crying my eyes out both times, and I was just like, okay, well done. You did it. You nailed it. You totally stuck the landing, both of them. And I knew it was coming, and he nailed it. He just nailed it. And Brie Larson nailed it beautifully. So I'll say this.
Have to check it out.
Yeah, Room, definitely worth checking out. Definitely, I mean, William H. Macy is in it for maybe 5 minutes.
He's awesome.
But he's amazing.
Of course, he's great.
Like, he's great. And those 5 minutes are spectacular. It's amazing how that guy, you give him 5 minutes, it's like, okay, you have 3 scenes. You got to just kill him. You just got to kill those 3 scenes, and he does.
All right. Well, I'm looking at. By the way, I do have a dark horse Oscar Best Actor nominee. I'll tell you in a second. Dark horse.
Yes.
Because it may not happen. He'll have to knock it out of the park.
Okay.
Put it out there. But first, I'm looking at my email invite to Room, and I've missed pretty much every screening of it. But I'm sure it'll screen again.
Oh yeah.
And they will send out the DVDs. You ready?
Yeah.
This probably never happened. Put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Based only on the trailer.
Yeah.
Because in the trailer, I bought it. Will Smith for Concussion.
He plays that Nigerian doctor.
Yes.
You do know that.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. You know the story, right?
Yes, and I thought he nailed the accent.
It's very insidery. It's basically, I mean, it's very, very insidery, except instead of the tobacco companies, it's the NFL. And the NFL tried to get him to tame the movies, to tone down how aggressively they basically accuse the NFL of being an organized crime operation that hides statistics about brain injuries.
And we learned that thanks to the Sony hack.
Yes.
Best hack ever.
Yes.
But I'm saying Dark Horse.
Mm-hmm.
Possible, maybe.
I'll
Will
tell
Smith.
I could be totally with you there. I mean, he's if anybody can sort of sell that accent, you would expect them to go with somebody who actually has Nigerian roots, like a Chiwetel Ejiofor, right? I mean, there are a lot of actors who actually have Nigerian parents, or David Oyelowo, right? I mean, he and Chiwetel Ejiofor, they are actually of Nigerian extraction.
I love that. They're both like
they grew up
top of the food chain for me. I
top
love
of
them
the heap. I mean, they grew up around that accent. Will Smith didn't. But Will Smith can do anything. He can. He's a great actor, and he's obviously a bigger box office draw. So it's an interesting roll of the dice.
Yes, Wade. So there you go. So that's our Oscar show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks. Goodbye.
We'll see you next week.
And
the balcony is closed.
All right. So and watch, Roger Ebert's going to sue us, and we're going to have to call Christy Lemire and say, Christy, would you please tell the Roger Ebert people not to sue us for using that phrase? That's what we'll have to do.
I don't think they're listening to this podcast. To be honest with you.
I enjoyed that little baseball face-off that you and Christy had at our meeting a week ago.
That is true.
I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Yeah, she was wearing her Dodgers shirt, and you were wearing your Mets shirt.
That's right.
It came to blows, and she beat the crap out of you.
You know what? I'm a very wimpy person.
Yeah.
All right, what are you doing?
All right, we're going to talk about DVDs and Blu-rays.
What?
And we so far have there's only 2 new movies this week to talk about, and then we're going to kind of dive into some TV and whatnot. But and Mark's going to be thrilled to tell us all about Don Rickles, because it is like a Don Rickles fest this week.
That's the best kind of fest.
That's Don Rickles fest. But a couple of new movies this week. We've got I like them both, actually. Testament of Youth with Alicia Vikander, who I'm starting to like a lot. I'm starting to realize how many movies I've seen her in and didn't realize it was the same person. She has that kind of melt into the scenery and into the context face that just it's like, wow, she's been in all this stuff and I didn't even realize it. Anyway, Testament of Youth, and with Alicia Vikander and Kit Harington, very proper British period legacy historical Downton Abbey kind of a thing. All based on Vera Britton's autobiographical book about her experiences during the First World War. And it's a very popular book. I had never heard of it because I don't really read. I just watch. And it's wonderful. It's, basically a woman's point of view of wartime. And it's exactly what you expect out of all that sort of classic, proper British filmmaking. It's delightful. It's lovely. Testament of Youth. And it's a beautiful Blu-ray. Sony Pictures Classics. I would love to know what the process is by which they do their Blu-rays, because I do find that Sony Classics Blu-rays seem to have a different mastering process from other Sony Blu-rays. There seems to be some different oversight, and I'd like to. I'm going to investigate that and see what the deal is there, because this is just gorgeous. And by way of extras, deleted scenes, and a commentary with Kit Harington and the director James Kent, who's a real comer, and some behind-the-scenes stuff. Not much, but certainly worthwhile. A lot more extra features, stuff on the Wolfpack. Our good friend Amy Nicholson of the LA Weekly was a huge fan of this. Wolfpack is a Magnolia release. It is an interesting film that I liked very much, and it is. I'm trying to think of how you even begin to sort of explain this movie, because this is a very unusual documentary by Crystal Moselle. About a bunch of brothers who live in the Lower East Side, and their entire lives are organized around movies. I mean, they just live movies day in and day out. And it is essentially about how they, how their family, how the family structure reacts to a disruption in that illusory world. It's an unusual, fascinating film. Vice Media and the Tribeca Film Institute were responsible for putting this together, and it's definitely worth checking out. Beautiful on Blu-ray, and tons of extras, interviews, and making of stuff. And there's even an interesting short film on here that they acted in, the guys who are part of this Wolfpack, and you can even get their trip to Los Angeles. It's a fascinating bunch of stuff. Very unusual movie.
I have something unusual, Wade.
Oh, don't say it. In your shirt? There you go.
All right, so we also have, what else do we have? We have Facts of Life, Wade. We have Facts of Life Season 7. And the reason I mention this is because Season 7, there was a very special guest star, and it is their only hope for selling more than 7 copies of this DVD. Who was on the cover, Wade? A very young-looking?
Oh, my gosh, George Clooney.
Yes.
I forgot that he was on the show.
A very young-looking George Clooney. In
Oh,
fact,
my
they are
gosh.
so pumping this thing that they even have a shot of what looks like George Clooney, like checking his script,
Oh, that's so funny.
sitting on a couch with the fat one, whatever her name was.
You know, speaking of George Clooney, have you watched you've seen the trailer for Hail Caesar?
Oh, it's the greatest thing
Oh,
ever.
my gosh. It's just so glorious.
It's going to be awesome.
It's already one of my favorite films of all time. I haven't even seen it. It's just, I mean, truly, it's like I look at that trailer and I just think, if this movie actually is even a fraction of what the trailer suggested it is, it's the movie I've been waiting my whole life for. It looks so funny.
I'm sort of hoping it's a little bit more of a mainstream Barton Fink, like a Barton Fink that
Yes.
doesn't have to win the Palme d'Or.
Right, exactly.
It's just funny.
It's just hilarious old Hollywood, just references left and right. Yeah.
Anyway, Facts of Life Season 7, George Clooney, who cares?
Honestly, in that trailer, when Clooney is doing his whole Caesar thing and he forgets his line, that look of panic on his face with that wide-angle lens, which the Coens always use for those kinds of funny moments, is that it's a wide-angle close-up. That look of sheer panic and it just not knowing what to do is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. People do not give Clooney enough credit for being funny.
That's true.
He is funny.
You know, it's not funny. Olympus, a legend will rise. Phil, Olympus is a show that it's this Canadian show, and we've talked about how Canadian shows are sort of like the retarded brother of regular American shows, because they're just a little bit
Kind of,
cheaper
yeah.
and just not quite as good quality-wise as American shows. So this one is about Olympus. Can I tell you? It's the gods living up at Olympus, doing their thing, doing their old Olympus god thing, and it's the main character in the movie is called Hero. Wade knows somebody.
Yeah, I
named
sure
Hero.
do. Yep, love her to
And-
death.
Exactly. And there's Medea, and there's Daedalus, who, by the way, is played by Matt Frewer from Max Headroom. If you don't know, ask your parents. So this thing is, it's fine. I don't know what to tell you. It was 13 episodes. It's completely serviceable. I don't know if they're bringing this back is the only thing, but I have to say that Shout Factory did a good job with it. There's a behind-the-scenes featurette, a couple of them on here. But, yeah, if you love your Olympus, go for this. Otherwise, there's probably like 1,000 other movies you could see that do it better. Wade mentioned earlier Don Rickles, because Don Rickles is the subject of all sorts of crazy Time Life DVD releases this week. We have, individually, we have the Don Rickles TV Specials Volume 1, and there is also Volume 2. This is Rickles TV Specials from, it's from the 60s and 70s. This is just great stuff. These specials are uncut. There's a lot of special guest stars, and the one... TV Specials Volume 1 includes Rickles receiving the TV Land Awards, TV Land Awards Legend Award presented by Jimmy Kimmel. So Kimmel was a big fan.
Yeah.
So guest stars on TV Specials Volume 1 include Don Adams from Get Smart, Johnny Carson, Bob Newhart, Carol O'Connor, and Harvey Korman from The Carol Burnett Show. And, he looks so young here, too. Don Rickles has looked about 60 years old for like 40 years.
But he works it. It serves him well.
That's the best. Season 2, CPO Sharky. I'd never liked this show, but here's Season 2 of CPO Sharky. This is from 1976 through 1978, 37 episodes. So, he's a Otto Sharkey, a chief petty officer, and he's crazy. He has to hang out with all the...
That's what CPO stands for, Chief Petty Officer. Okay.
There you go.
Now I know that.
Now, Time Life, they did a pretty lame job putting... CPO Sharky Season 1 and Season 2 together with the TV Specials Volume 1 and Volume 2, boxing it up and calling it Mr. Warmth, Don Rickles' The Ultimate TV Collection. And there are 4 TV specials, which there are, 37 episodes of CPO Sharky, which there are, bonus material and never-before-seen outtakes, which there are, but of course they're already in the...
Yeah.
It's not like they did something special for the box set.
Yeah.
So if you love Rickles, go for Mr. Warmth. I mean, you should just go for it anyway. I mean, how much more is this than just buy each of them individually? Just spend an extra $10 and get all of them.
Yeah, he's the Rickliest.
He's you know what?
I'm still dying to see him live, and I don't think I will. I think
he plays Vegas. If he plays Vegas, you just got to go to Vegas.
Have
you ever been to Vegas?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was at a film market at Vegas as a student rep when I was in film school for Cinetex. And I think the one-shot American Comedy Festival that they had there, which was won by the tall guy, the Jeff Goldblum thing that introduced Emma Thompson to us, where Jeff Goldblum and Emma Thompson have that insanely hilarious sex scene. You know, it's all about a musical production of The Elephant Man. You've seen it, right? The tall guy?
Back in the day, sure.
Yeah, directed by Mel, what's his name, who did the Radioland Murders and then his career tanked.
Oh, not...
Mel, whatever his name was, yeah. That guy.
Yeah. Not Mel Stewart from...
no, something else.
Willy Wonka.
We've forgotten. Carry on.
Anyway, Bon Voyage Charlie Brown. This is one of the Charlie Brown specials. This is from 1980. This is kind of sort of in the Charlie Brown animated special heyday. And although it's not my favorite one, I still do like it. It's the gang going to Europe. And what happens is they go to Europe. And here's what happens, Wade. They go to Europe, and they all get kidnapped.
Yes.
And then Liam Neeson says, I have a very special set of skills. And he goes to Europe, and he gets all the Charlie Brown kids back.
That would be the greatest Charlie Brown movie ever.
It's very dramatic. Anyway, they go to France and have a good time. So not my favorite Charlie Brown, but you know what? They should really put all. They do have box sets of Charlie Brown specials, but they don't have box sets of like the classic key ones that everybody loves watching at holiday time.
I don't think they've taken the time to actually sit down and say, okay. We have, because they have like the classic Charlie Browns from the 70s and from the 80s. They had a couple of those. They need to sit down and just stop releasing all of these weird... I mean, people are going crazy trying to figure out what Charlie Browns do I buy. They need to just go, here is your complete Big Mama Charlie Brown box set of every Charlie Brown special ever made. And we're going to release this for the people who want to be completists, and then everybody else will create little sub-boxes, and you can deal with those. But at least give us a sense of completism, because there are just too many of these things. It's getting very hard to track them. There's no consistency to them. A couple to wind out the television stuff here is The Making of the Mob, which is an interesting docudrama series on AMC that is narrated by Ray Liotta that is very History Channel-ish in many respects. But it's really good. It gives you the entire. It's an 8-part series that goes completely into the history of organized crime in the United States, and it covers all the obligatory big figures, from Bugsy Siegel and Meyer Lansky and Al Capone, and I mean on and on and on. You get all of them, and it is very well researched. It is very well put together. Recreations are really, really good. Recreations sometimes in these things are very sort of thrown together. Not here. This is very cinematic. It is very impressive. And a lot of great interviews here, to be honest. A lot of really amazing interviews. They grab just about everybody who is in any way Italian and has any kind of connection to the mob on either side. Everybody from, even like Frankie Valli is interviewed on this thing. Meyer Lansky's the second is in here. Chaz Palminteri, Joe Mantegna, Rudy Giuliani. I mean, they get everybody in here. So it's quite good, actually. And then also from PBS on Blu-ray is The Widower, which is the story of Malcolm Webster. And if you don't know the story of Malcolm Webster, this is one of the creepiest family dramas that you will ever hear. There's no way to sort of get into this. It's about this guy. What this guy did. Anyway, it is. I don't want to call it it's a murder story. It's a murder story, but wow, it is unbelievable. It's amazing that if this had been written as a fictional story, nobody would make it because nobody would believe it was true. It's an amazing story. Anyway, great acting here. John Hannah is fantastic. Reese Shearsmith is fantastic. Sheridan Smith also fantastic. A lot of great performances. Really, really rock solid. Good stuff from ITV, the people who do Downton Abbey. All right, Mark, we have amazing documentaries this week. Amazing docs. Amazing docs.
Let's start with Call Me Lucky, which actually is an amazing doc. No joke. It's about directed by Bobcat Goldthwait, who, as you might know, has crafted a very interesting, not always successful, but very admirable career as a very, very low-budget director. And here he goes the documentary route. This is the story of a comedian named Barry Crimmins. Now, Barry Crimmins was pretty hot in the early 90s. Late 80s, early 90s, and he was very funny, very angry, very political, and, what happens is, I don't want to give away too much of this, I'll just give away a little bit of it, is that he was a guy who influenced a lot of comedians who came after him, and he was friends with Tom Kenny, who, of course, from National Lampoon, and Bobcat, of course, himself, and there's a lot of, Sam Kinison, of course, and Andrew Dice Clay, but Crimmins was a little bit higher-minded than that, he was more political, but still very, very angry, and then around 1992, while on stage, he admits that he had once been the victim of abuse as a child. And at that point, the movie and his life, but the movie takes a very dark turn, and Crimmins' life goes completely 180, where he leaves stand-up, becomes an activist against abuse.
It's always wild.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. It's an amazing life. It had two very distinct acts, a little bit of overlap, but two very distinct acts that are both admirable. And Call Me Lucky is the story of Barry Crimmins, and this thing is great. He gets Goldthwait gets a lot of great interviews. Margaret Cho and Patton Oswalt and a bunch of other comics to talk about Crimmins. Crimmins, of course, is still alive, so Crimmins is also in it. And there's a commentary with Crimmins and Bobcat Goldthwait. So this is a very interesting story of an underappreciated comic whose life took a very tragic turn, and he really stepped up to the plate in terms of advocacy, and you really got to respect the guy. It's just beautiful. It's called Call Me Lucky. Highly recommended.
All right, and on the public television front, got some great stuff, really great stuff. Starting with the immortal, the unbelievable, the legendary, the Civil War, Ken Burns' great miniseries, which is still the great Ken Burns accomplishment of all time. I mean, no disrespect to baseball and the other great stuff he's done, but the Civil War is considered his masterpiece and probably always will be.
Well, that was the one that sort of put him on the map.
He was just
name brand documentarian.
He was just another documentarian until he decided to devote his life to doing to cover this magnum opus that no one had ever done before. And it is huge, and they have fully restored it, and it is sensational on Blu-ray. All 11 whopping hours of it, which are riveting. You could sit down and watch this thing in a single sitting and not lose interest. It is just completely gripping, and I think people, especially after Lincoln, the Spielberg film, feel probably a little closer to the history again. And it comes with a collector's booklet and a new featurette on making the Civil War 25 years later, a little bit on restoring it, and an interview with Shelby Foote, and it's just it's amazing. It is really still amazing, and I don't know that there will ever be a more definitive documentary about the Civil War. And then and the restoration is just spectacular. I mean, it's beyond gorgeous. And then also from PBS, we have Chasing Pluto, A Historic Journey to the Edge of Our Solar System, which is a Nova documentary essentially on this journey to Pluto that we are still getting amazing pictures from daily. It's like suddenly Pluto's got an atmosphere and it has water, and apparently it's got resorts with big swimming pools and casinos. Who knew, right?
Wow.
And I want this thing called a planet again. I've been
right?
really mad ever since they demoted it to like a what do they call it, like a planetoid or a subplanet or like a child planet. They called it something stupid. It's a freaking planet. It's got an atmosphere. It's got ice. It's got casinos. It's got pools and resorts. Damn it, it's a planet.
That's right. You know what? And then when you fly by Pluto, there's a big casino. It says the word Trump on top.
That's right.
It's a Trump casino. That
it
guy,
sure is. He gets around, doesn't he?
He really does.
He's going to be our next president.
Wow.
Anyway, seriously, it's a great Nova. They take you inside the mission, and those guys that do that stuff. My cousin works at JPL. He's literally a rocket scientist, and I don't understand what he does, but boy, I'm impressed by them. And then speaking of Trump, another one here is Drug Lord, The Legend of Shorty. This is all about El Chapo. This is a Frontline doc, and Frontline, of course, is just, I don't know how those guys crank this stuff out as much as they do, but this is about Joaquin Guzman, who is the guy, he just freaking escaped again from another maximum security prison with that gigantic, he went through the shower and down through the piping, and then there was a motorcycle waiting for him, and he scoots out on the motorcycle, and then his son is taunting people on social media, and then Donald Trump, rips into him and rips into Mexico, and then he takes out now he just took out $100 million hit on Donald Trump for insulting Mexicans. Now, let's get this straight. A murderous drug dealer with the blood of thousands of people on his hands is upset that Donald Trump is giving his people a bad name?
See? Well, it's all subjective.
It is. Kind of. Anyway, it's just, this guy's unbelievable. I mean, the ego is out of control. It's just out of control. And it is a great Frontline doc. I mean, this is a very easy thing to just run away with and do kind of a Geraldo deal on, make it really sensational, but it's not. They really, really, really get into the details and look at how he became who he is and how he accumulated his wealth and his power, and it's pretty intriguing. And they even talk to his mom, believe it or not. So fascinating, really fascinating. Drug Lord, The Legend of Shorty.
You know what else is fascinating? 2 documentaries. One is called Bad Kid Begins, which is this wonderful documentary about that 2013 story you probably heard of, about a kid recovering from leukemia who hooks up with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and his wish is to be Batman. So what started as just a dozen or so people trying to make a wish that this kid be Batman for the day wound up involving like thousands of people closing down San Francisco, getting permits, closing down streets, dressing up in costumes, pretending to be damsels in distress and other superheroes and other supervillains, and people cheering as he ran down the street
it was
in
really
a huge
awesome.
costume of this Batmobile. Awesome. It became this whole huge thing, and Bad Kid Begins, and Julia Roberts
awesome.
put her name on this to help get the word out. Bad Kid Begins wound up being just an amazing, amazing moment, and it shows that basically as a species we're not entirely doomed. I mean, maybe a little bit doomed.
Yep.
I'm sure Donald Trump probably would not have allowed the street permits to be approved.
It depends if you consider him a bat or a child.
Exactly. He's both. Bad Kid. Anyway, this is great stuff. So Bad Kid Begins, very inspiring, a wonderful story, true story. As you know, the baseball playoffs are underway. And
are the Mets winning?
Who are the Mets? I've never heard of them. Okay. We have a 4-film collection, Baseball Legends. I will say that there's so many baseball specials and documentaries out there that I don't know if you need to necessarily buy this one, but I will say that it does collect 3 of the immortals, Lou Gehrig, Hank Aaron, Ted Williams, and Babe Ruth, into one DVD set called Baseball Legends. So if you like baseball and maybe you've been resisting buying all the 10,000 other documentaries that are out there, this might be not a bad place to start because, again, it is Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Hank Aaron, and Lou Gehrig. But otherwise, if you already know these people, you won't really learn much more from this DVD.
All right, a couple of dance documentaries from First Run Features. If you are a fan of dance, especially dancing men, as Mark is, Mark loves to go to the ballet.
I am a
Really
you know
does.
what? You know what they say about ballet? You can't get sleep like that at home.
There you go. Well, Ballet Boys is actually a really, really good doc. Really interesting look at ballet, essentially from the male point of view. Looks at 3 young dancers, and it's a little bit like, I don't want to call it hoop dreamsy, but it's kind of hoop dreamsy. So it sort of focuses on these guys over the course of several years. This is actually a Norwegian doc, I should point out. So it is in Norwegian. I wanted people to be fully aware of that. But it's actually quite good and has a bunch of bonus shorts that are very good. And then even better, as far as I'm concerned, is PS Dance, which stands for Public School Dance. This is all about dance education in the public school system and why it is important. I don't think I ever attended a school that had a dance program, but this is, Paula Zahn hosts this, and it's very, very persuasive. So it makes you realize that, by golly, every school probably should have a dance program. Did I just say by golly?
Dagnabbit, yes you did.
Wow. Odds, bodkins, and gadzooks. Tibetan Warrior is, I find it very, very moving. The travails of Tibet are incredibly sad, and they aren't really sufficiently talked about. And this is one particular struggle captured in this documentary. It is the story of Loten Namling, who is he's not even, most of these things are about lamas and monks. He's not a monk, he's a musician. And he lives in Switzerland, and he is a fascinating figure, and it is all about his particular approach to protest for his homeland's freedom. Really interesting guy. Very good film, Tibetan Warrior. And let's see, Monument Men, The Road to Rushmore, is a 7-part documentary from Mill Creek, which is effectively all about Mount Rushmore, and it's quite a story. There have been other documentaries on Mount Rushmore, including, I believe, an American Experience doc from some years ago that was on PBS. Might have been a Frontline, but I think it was an American Experience. It was very, very good. This does not transcend it, but it's still absolutely wonderful, and this gets into, what an unbelievable accomplishment it was. And I think we tend to look at that thing and just think that's, Mount Rushmore is the product of some giant 3D printer.
But like some guy
yeah.
was there with a chisel.
Yeah, an immigrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, an amazing story. I mean, it's great. It's an amazing story. And then Mateo, before I get to the last documentary, which is absolutely awesome, and Mark will concur, Mateo is about the first white mariachi singer.
I hate mariachi music.
And I know you do.
It's the worst. You know what? I was at the Dodger game. I was at the Dodger Met game. Don't talk about it. It was a couple weeks ago. And they had, before the game, they had a mariachi band. There is nothing worse than mariachi. First of all, it all sounds the same.
Yeah.
I don't like any particular type of art that I feel I could do myself.
Yeah.
Right? Mariachi music, I could write that myself. It's all mariachi music right there.
Well,
there it is.
Let me tell you, this is a really interesting
No, it's
story.
not.
He is the first white. He's really good. I mean, he's really
You know
good.
why? You know why he's the first white? Because he realized that this music is so simple. I can actually make myself a legend writing music that is so simplistic that like a baby could write it.
Mark, Famous Nathan. Famous Nathan of Coney Island.
Yeah, I've not eaten at Nathan's in many, many years.
Famous Nathan. This is much closer to Mark's, but Mark's experience than mine.
It's terrific.
But you know what? Nathan Handwerker was an immigrant from an Eastern European country that does not exist anymore. Where he comes from, it's no longer there. It's not a country anymore. It's somewhere over there, kind of between Czechoslovakia and Hungary and Austria. It was this little country.
See, he comes from Hungary, and he made hot dogs.
And it vanished somewhere around, end of the First World War or whatever. But anyway, Nathan Handwerker, immigrated to the United States with his wife, a poor immigrant who had no money, no nothing, and he started working on Coney Island for a hot dog vendor, and then eventually opened up his own competition across the way and dropped the price to 5 cents per hot dog. And we all know the story now. I mean, it's this legendary empire. And this is the story of his grandson, Lloyd Handwerker, started working on this in the 80s, started shooting stuff in the 1980s, and has now completed this documentary about his family's legendary rise and about how his dad and his uncle, when they inherited the business, effectively made a hash of it. You know, it's like it's sort of the same story, right? Some great genius entrepreneur, poor immigrant comes from some country, usually Jewish, and they build a mighty empire, and then they hand it over to their ingrate offspring, and they wind up feuding it into the ground. It didn't exactly happen like that here, but there's certainly a Shakespearean element to it, you know, a kind of a King Learish quality to the story. And it's a great story, and it's beautifully made. And even though it's told by someone of the family, what amazing... You know, Handwerker, he integrated his staff at a time when nobody was doing that. He had Puerto Ricans and blacks and whites, and they were all working together because they were serving hot dogs a mile a minute. What an amazing story.
It is true. And it reminds me of the In-N-Out Burger story. You know, In-N-Out Burger,
yeah,
which is a local chain here in California and a couple other states out west. You know, In-N-Out Burger, which has been around for, decades now and is a huge, local empire. It's run by like this 36-year-old woman because there's nobody else in the family to run it. So there's this like very attractive, may I say, 36, 37-year-old woman who like was just thrust into having to own this legendary hamburger franchise. And I saw her interviewed because they're pretty reclusive. You don't get really to hear or see the family that owns In-N-Out Burger very often, but they did do something on this woman who now runs the company. And you can tell that she's a little bit like, I'm sure she'll do great, and it's In-N-Out Burger, but you can tell that she was not born to run a hamburger empire. But that's just what was thrust upon her. She has no choice. And so she seems very sincere, but a little over her head. We'll see how she develops. But it reminds me of that.
All right, Mark, it is time for... there's no... It is time for me to blow through some anime.
Oh, great. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
How much time do I have?
How much time do you need?
Yeah, you give me.
Where's the pile?
This is anime. A lot of this is just.
That's like 3 minutes.
A lot of this is just mentions.
That's like 3 minutes.
It's good mentions.
Giving you 3 minutes. Hang on.
Yep.
I'm gonna count
3 minutes.
Down.
I might need 5.
5?
I might need 5.
Governor. All right, 3, 2, 1.
All right. If you're a fan of Space Dandy, all that rockabilly anime with the cool artwork from the Cowboy Bebop people, we got Season 2 out here from Funimation in a Blu-ray DVD combo pack. It is such cool animation. I can't say I love the stories too much, but it's great animation. Even better animation, Full Metal Alchemist, which is now out in a complete series on Blu-ray. Full Metal Alchemist is, more of that kind of cyberpunky stuff, but man, it is really gorgeous looking. Again, I don't know that I want to watch a whole series or a whole season, but it is gorgeous looking. We also have Noragami. Noragami, this is the complete first season of what appears to be a very, very interesting series, which is more of this youth-oriented anime, kind of slacker kids and the world that they inhabit. And it's usually very, very specific to Japan, but when the supernatural stuff kicks in, that's when it gets relatively interesting if you're not really into that. Appleseed has had a live-action version, which is quite impressive, and now we get the Blu-ray Appleseed from the Sentai Select series, which is it's legendary anime. It's still really state-of-the-art. It's still really cool, and I think, for people who like the giant robot stuff, all that Transformer-y stuff, it's still state-of-the-art. Still looks really good. In that same vein is Pat Labor, the movie 3, whatever number WX3, whatever that is, WX3, Pat Labor, the movie 3, there it is. That is from Made in Japan. And that's not quite so great animation, but Pat Labor has an obvious following, so there you go. Vampire Hunter D from Sentai Filmworks is now out on Blu-ray. This is the original remastered Vampire Hunter D. There are a bunch of variations on it, but this is it. This is the original. It is great. It is creepy. It is classic anime, and if you're an anime fan, you should definitely have that one in your shelf. Brynhilde. Here are a few. If you're into the whole female thing, the whole kind of eccentric female crew doing whatever stuff. This is a kind of very fetishistic. There are a number of these, and one of these is Brynhilde in the Darkness. This is the complete collection, 13 episodes. We also have Kamigami no Asobi, the complete collection. That is super cool animation. And then Selector Infected Wick Sauce in a Blu-ray DVD combo set. A few more things here before I wrap this out. 009 Re-Cyborg Blu-ray and DVD combo set from Funimation. This is from the director who did Ghost in the Shell, the standalone complex. So as a result, it is equally confusing and equally as impressive visually. Very nicely transferred. All the Funimation stuff is really, really great. Nobunaga the Fool, also great animation. This is kind of that supernatural, cyberpunky, sci-fi, retro Shogun era thing that happens whenever Japan decides to try to stitch its past and its future together in these genre splicing series. It is incomprehensible, but really, really nicely done. That quirky schoolgirl thing, more fetishistic stuff, but on kind of skewing much more bubblegum, is the complete collection of Sabagebu, Survival Game Club, and The Comic Artist and His Assistants, which has, this is the complete collection, which basically tells you who they're aiming for when you have 4 small girls with different colored hair in bikinis on the cover. That is a very, very specific audience that they're aiming for, and I am not among them. Some of the best animation that I've seen in a very long time is in Arise, Ghost in the Shell. This is also from Funimation, a fantastic Blu-ray set that includes Border 3 Ghost Tears and Border 4 Ghost Stands Alone. The Ghost in the Shell animation still don't get the whole world, but the Ghost in the Shell animation continues to be really, really state-of-the-art and really advanced. We have new installments of both Fairy Tail, number 17 in a Blu-ray and DVD combo set. That's Fairy Tail, Tail. And One Piece, Season 7, Voyage 2, which borrows very heavily from kind of 60s and 70s anime stylings. These both have popular followings, and they continue to be really, really, huge anime properties. Mark, how much time do I have left?
I don't know. My phone's over there.
Is it gonna? Well, there we go. It's done. All right. So that finished me off. I think. You know what? Let me just hit one more here. Actually,
What?
2 more.
That is against the rules, Wade.
I got 2 more here, real quickly. Just want to make mention of it real quickly. Inari Kankan, Blu-ray DVD combo set. Again, this is in that youth thing. The anything that's the Japanese anime stuff that deals with like middle school kids and high school kids and all their problems, and I tend to sort of not really connect to that because a lot of it is an outgrowth of just the disenfranchised youth culture in Japan. So I usually check it out and say, does it at least look cool? Because I'm not going to try to follow the stories. But this actually is a little bit engaging. It's almost like a Japanese John Hughes thing, and then of course then you get the supernatural thing and everything gets a little weird. But actually, not bad, really not bad at all. And then the last one I was going to mention is Tokyo Ghoul, complete first season. We're getting into a very, very creepy area here. This is from a director named Shuhei Morita, who did an Oscar-nominated short film some years ago, and apparently now is able to do some pretty impressive television. Anyway, this is kind of almost over the edge. It's basically about a cannibalistic creature. It's almost like a cross between Dexter and M in anime form, but I kind of dug it. I sort of dug it. It's real edgy and very interesting. So that's a Blu-ray DVD combo pack, again from Funimation, who just keeps doing really, really great stuff.
It's fun and it's animation.
That's right. That is hence the name Funimation. All right, so we got classic movies now. We're going to tie up the show with our classic movie coverage.
Wait, why are you handing me the Mod Squad and saying we're finishing up the classic movie cover?
Well, because it's out, and maybe somebody likes the Mod Squad. It's not classic. I agree. I admit it. Fine, Mod Squad, not classic, but
Well, Mod Squad. This is from 1999. And I remember Mod Squad as being one of the first, obviously not remotely the first, one of the first movies where like I felt like the shows of my childhood. Although Mod Squad was a little early for me, but I felt like the shows of my childhood were now being rebooted with like these hot young kids.
correct.
It's really started really on the wave of that. And it's got a great cast. It's got Claire Danes. I always love Claire Danes.
These are all Olive releases, by the way. Olive licensed all this stuff to get it out there. So I mean, it's worth mentioning.
I do love Giovanni Ribisi. I wish he had won 6 Oscars already, but he has not. But the problem with the Mod Squad is that it sucks. It was not a good movie. It did not result in any sequels, which I'm sure they desperately thought would happen. And this thing is just so robotic. It's just not even. It feels like it's just exploiting kids who want to go spend money on movies with like a bunch of nothing. Anyway, very disjointed, not very funny, and it's almost like condescending. Like they all wear sunglasses and look cool while explosions going on behind them. It's almost insulting to that audience, if you ask me. Deuce is Wild has an interesting cast for its time. Frankie Muniz, I never say that kid's name.
Muniz.
Frankie Muniz, who just drives cars now. Peruza Balk, Stephen Dorff, Brad Renfro, Vincent Pastore, Balthazar Getty, Dre Mateo. This is from 2002, set in Brooklyn. I have to say that it's got that whole little, that whole late 50s Brooklyn, New York thing when everyone's walking around in their T-shirts and their jeans, and they got their cigarettes wrapped. They got the pack of cigarettes wrapped up in their T-shirt sleeve. Yeah, that's what they're doing. And you know what I'm saying? So it's definitely got some stuff there. It was shot by John Alonzo, who, of course, shot Chinatown. So it looks nice. And also has a Stuart Copeland score. And Stuart Copeland, the drummer for the Police, had a kind of a run of interesting film scores. This was one of them. So it's interesting stuff, I guess. It's got a couple good scenes. It's really well shot. It's got a great cast for that time. I don't know. I think it wants to be like a Goodfellas type thing, but it's not. A couple more. We have Fatal Instinct. Fatal Instinct was a spoof directed by Carl Reiner of the whole Joe Esterhaus thing. It makes fun of Fatal Attraction, Double Indemnity. Just like the Zucker Brothers films, these things are hit and miss. There's 3 jokes a minute. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're not. I found Fatal Instinct okay. It does not hold up even remotely to the Zucker Brothers films. The best of the Zucker Brothers. This one was just fine. I mean, Carl Reiner, who, by the way, is still around, he does an audio commentary for this film, has a trailer. So, if you like comedies, it's got Sean Young, Kate Nelligan, who's big in the 80s, Sherilyn Finn, who's also big in the 80s. I remember Kate Nelligan. I know.
Yeah.
And Armand DeSante. It's okay. Antitrust with Ryan Phillippe and Rachel Lee Cook, Claire Forlani. What happened to Claire Forlani? And Tim Robbins, directed by Peter Howitt. It's all about tech programmers, and they're going to work with some tech corporation. And I think at the time, 2001, when the internet was first kind of really taking off, they did a bunch of these sorts of movies that were like taking advantage of the whole tech thing, the whole internet thing. And they're just really these kind of lame, watered-down thrillers that don't even hold up now that we know what the internet has become. So there you go. So the whole idea, Wade, what is Nerve? N-U-R-V.
Nerve.
It's a tech corporation. It's called Nerve. That seems so cool in 2001. Today, it's the stupidest thing in the whole goddamn world.
Alrighty. We got some stuff from Warner Brothers and from Film Chest, or Film Detective. I'm sorry, Film Detective here. Film Detective has had these Blu-rays promised for quite some time. They had licensed these titles a while back, and we've been waiting for a lot of these Blu-rays. And because a lot of these are movies that have just never been on Blu-ray before, and it's really cool to have them. These are from their Restored Classics line, Film Detective, the Film Detective Archive Restored Classics. And we start with the Paul Henreid film directed by Steve Secoli, Hollow Triumph, which is kind of a cool, underrated noir, and looks really cool on Blu-ray. They did a really good job of restoring it. And we also get the John Huston film Beat the Devil, which looks a little bit less good. I think the elements are more to blame here.
You know what? I have to tell you, I've tried to watch this on Netflix.
Yeah.
it looks terrible.
Yeah.
Now the Netflix, whatever print Netflix used, looks terrible.
I think it may be the same one. Somebody needs to find the original elements and clean them up. I'm willing to cut them a little bit of slack because the Blu-ray resolution really helps, but the elements are not. It's very bleached out. Was that your experience on Netflix? It's very
bleached
pale.
out and a print damage.
Yeah. I mean, there's some of that here, so it may or may not be the same one. The one I was happy to have here is Salt of the Earth, which is a legendary band movie. Could look better as well on Blu-ray. Should look better. I think there was a special edition DVD that actually, believe it or not, looks better. But Salt of the Earth still looks decent, and it's on Blu-ray. If nothing else, if you want to have a Blu-ray of it, there it is. But I mean, this film was. This has been kind of a cult banned scandal film for decades, and it sort of still is. And a lot of people have been looking for this on Blu-ray specifically.
It's great.
So
I actually had the great pleasure of interviewing the makers of this film.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was working. Believe it or not, I was working at E! Entertainment Television at the time. This is a long time ago. Now they would never do anything remotely like this. But I was offered the chance to go on a shoot with the one of the stars and the not the director because he had passed away. A couple of the stars of Salt of the Earth, which is like the all blacklisted film.
Yeah, it's the all-time. Yeah, it is. It is that film, the film that really, and it really doesn't deserve to be honest. When you look at it in hindsight, you're like, really, somebody? I mean, this is.
Well, it was all made by blacklisted folks.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because they talked a lot about the McCarthy hearings
Yeah.
and a lot about what happened to their career once they were blacklisted, and it was just a terrible time in American history. And they all came together to make this film, Salt of the Earth. And yeah.
So a bunch of Warner Brothers stuff, mainly from the Paramount library, all new on Blu-ray. Now, the first one is specifically a Warner Brothers film. Matchstick Men, directed by Ridley Scott, who's having a resurgence with The Martian, as we have noted. This is a con movie starring Nicolas Cage and Sam Rockwell and Alison Lohman. The problem that I have with this film is that, like all movies about cons, it's easy to figure out. You just basically assume that everyone is lying, and you're inside the movie. And they all work this way. That recent Will Smith thing, same deal. The what was the Argentine film? Seven Spades, Seven.
Seven Psychopaths.
No, not Seven Psychopaths. The Argentine film. It's like what was Seven
Argentinians?
Diamonds, Queen
Seven
of Diamonds.
soccer games?
I don't know, whatever it was. Anyway, it's the same deal. They're all the same. And House of Games is sort of the one that started this genre. But House of Games.
House of Games is the best.
But House of Games does it right. There's something different about House of Games. It's not all about figuring out the con. It's about the psychological dynamics involved, and it's great.
That needs to be on Blu-ray.
It should be. It should get a Criterion release, is what it should have.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So here are the ones that matter. First off, Clint Eastwood in Escape from Alcatraz, finally out on Blu-ray, because Paramount decided they really want nothing to do with this movie, so they threw it over to Warner Brothers, and there we go. So Warner Brothers is getting to release all of this Paramount library stuff that Paramount appears to not care about. Escape from Alcatraz, true story, directed by Don Siegel, long time, the same Don Siegel that did all of Eastwood's really great stuff, including Dirty Harry. And this is a cool film. This is a really cool film. I think it's a great story, and Eastwood is great in it. Also, the aforementioned Team America is finally out on Blu-ray because for some reason Paramount doesn't see any use in doing a special edition of this themselves.
I have the best Blu-ray of
Yours is
Team
better.
America ever.
Yours is better.
Sent in by a listener.
The transfer quality on yours is better. Thank you,
it doesn't
Axel.
matter.
Thank you, Axel.
What matters is that Axel sent it to me.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if it's the worst transfer ever.
Yes.
It means
He was thinking
it
of
means
you.
more because it was sent by a listener.
I'm just saying.
One of our beloved listeners.
Yours is better quality.
Axel Peronio.
But that being said, it is finally out on Blu-ray, and it's acceptably good. It's just not amazing. And there are no extras. I mean, it's like, load this thing up, man. This is one of the funniest movies ever made. Come on, go to town.
I named it one of the best,
especially
one
right
of the best
now.
films of the 2000s.
It's like so timely right now, almost more than ever. Come on, give it up.
I know.
Anyway, and then this one's really disappointing. I'm thrilled that Witness is out on Blu-ray. I am desperately sad that they just kind of blew it out, that they just sort of threw it out there, and you can tell it needs a better transfer. It really needs it. This deserves a special edition, a remaster, a Criterion release. I mean, this is a legendarily important film.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a great Harrison Ford film. It's a great Peter Weir film.
Great
It's got an
script.
unbelievable script and an amazing score by Maurice Jarre. The barn raising is just one of those great moments in movie history. And I'm just so sad that they just kind of, crapped this out there and didn't really give it the treatment that it deserves. It really deserves a better Blu-ray. I'm thrilled the Blu-ray is out, but it should be better. It really should be better.
They still teach that script in school in terms of structure. Tight
It's an amazing.
structure.
It's an amazing script. It's amazing. All right, and we got some from Kino. Kino,
Here
the
we
Kino
go.
Studio Classic. Well, you do those. I'll do these.
Okay, Burt Reynolds in Malone. Burt Reynolds, by the way, still around. We love Burt Reynolds. And it's directed by a guy named Harley Cockless. I don't know who he is, what he has done since this or before this, but all I know is his name is Cockless. And God, you know what?
I was not going to bite on that.
But you were not going to bite on Cockless? You can't bite on Cockless way because that's just not going to happen.
I know.
Anyway,
We could do this all night.
Exactly. We can bite on Cockless all night, Wade.
Yes.
Anyway, this is back during Burt Reynolds' kind of, lame B-movie heyday. These movies would be B-movies now, but at the time they were like kind of mini-major releases.
They were all named after the character. It was like Malone, Stock, Grunt, Black, Buv, Nyaj, Giz.
Cliff Robinson's in this.
Yeah.
Cliff Robinson's in this. Anyway, this is terrible. Company Business with this is a weird little movie. This was directed by Nicholas Meyer, who of course went on to direct Star Trek 2. This is a weird little movie because it is it's sort of a two-hander starring Gene Hackman and Mikhail Baryshnikov. So it's a spy movie, and Hackman plays an ex-CIA agent, and a dance movie, and it has a pretty cool climax that takes place on top of the Eiffel Tower. So it's really not a bad movie. It's just kind of a curious movie because the pairing is so odd. But and also it's not dated because the Russians are kind of bad guys again. But this was back during the Super Cold War when every movie that took place in Russia or involved Russians was kind of like cool and dangerous. But there you go, Company Business. Wolfgang Peterson, during his down years, did movies like Shattered, with Tom Berenger, Greta Scacchi. What happened to her?
You know what? I'm going to tell you something about Shattered. Shattered
You don't like this movie.
is an absolutely horrendous movie. It is a terrible movie in every conceivable way. It is just one of the worst films you have ever seen, but it has what might be one of the 2 or 3 best endings of any movie in history.
Is this the movie? Is this the one where you say it's the best ending ever and it's on the Blu-ray? What was that movie?
Oh no! That's
Eye of the Beholder. Or something?
Eye of the Beholder is the one that I gave 5 stars to, and then they changed the ending. Yeah. No. This Shattered. I remember watching this. I think I had to review it as well, and I did review it. Yeah, I did review it, and I reviewed that for either Entertainment Today or Box Office. But I remember sitting there thinking, this movie is such junk. I can't believe I'm sitting here wasting my time. Whoa, you did not do that! And I was just floored. It is such an amazing ending. So it's a terrible movie, but I gotta tell you, it's worth sitting through just for the ending. It is worth it. It is.
We're not going to do that, Wade.
I know.
That's not an option really for us to watch the movie. Just get to the ending. Anyway, Modern Girls. This is kind of a lame little comedy from the late 80s, I believe. And this is a story about 3 hot chicks, 2 of which are Cynthia Gibb and Virginia Madsen. Daphne Zuniga's in this too. And they go on a crazy night of rock and roll, drinking and meeting dudes in L.A. Sort of like After Hours, I guess. But, this movie is, I guess it might be like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off type, maybe double feature, although Ferris Bueller is much better. But this movie does not have a brain in its head. It's cheesy, and the hair looks ridiculous, and the acting is ridiculous, and the story's ridiculous. And this movie, directed by Jerry Kramer, needs to get more and more just outrageous. They're just going deeper and deeper into just the dark underbelly of L.A. But in the end, it's just lame. Good music though. Jesus, including Jesus and Mary Jane. Slam Dance with Tom Hulse, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, and Virginia Madsen. That was a movie that came out. Wayne Wang directed that, which is a little odd. It seems not very Wayne Wang-y.
Wayne Wang did some odd things now and again.
Now, now let's just say that Wayne Wang was gay, and let's say that the director of the Burt Reynolds film was also gay.
We're working blue, aren't we?
His name would be Wayne Wang Cockless, because that would be just damn funny.
We're going to get emails.
I wish.
We are.
Great. You know what? if people hate us, they care a lot more than if they like us. It's true. Like it's that Howard Stern thing where like they did that study where like people who like Howard Stern will listen to him like for half an hour at a time. People who hate Howard Stern will listen to him for like an hour at a time. So Wade, any publicity in 2015 is good publicity.
Is good publicity.
Yes,
okay. All right.
Anyway, this film, as I remembered, it was notable because Adam Ant was in it. And Adam Ant, the rocker, is pretty good.
All right. So here I go. I'm going to blow through some more here. A couple more from the Warner Brothers Paramount thing. One from Warner by way of Paramount. Kiss the Girls, which was kind of a low-grade-ish Silence of the Lambs-ish thing, another silent serial killer thing that Gary Flater directed. Along Came a Spider was the sequel, which was not as good. This was back when Morgan Freeman was doing just about anything, as opposed to now when he literally will do anything. Morgan Freeman and Ashley Judd. Pretty easy movie to figure out, I have to be honest with you, but it's still respectably done. Gary Flater, good director who primarily works in television now. So that's on Blu-ray. 15 Minutes, also on Blu-ray, with Robert De Niro and Edward Burns. Pretty generic cop thing, but written and directed by John Hertzfeld. But they're both good in it. They're not, it's if you like them, you'll be fine with it. This was one of those final New Line films before New Line was effectively folded into Warner Brothers, which means it was just kind of burned to the ground. And the return of Count Yorga. This is from Scream Factory, division of Shout Factory. If you know the Count Yorga thing, you just know what this is. It's all rather silly, and it's rather it's kind of really badly dated, but for some reason, it still has a bit of a following. These were some of the later stage, early 70s era American International Picture AIP horror films, kind of meant to compete on a lower level with the Hammer stuff. Doesn't really, but you know what? You got some interesting people in here. Very young Craig T. Nelson and Mariette Hartley, who we always love from Star Trek, and those the Polaroid commercials.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
it's
you
time to
remember
go
all
to
that?
YouTube, watch shows again.
There you go. Mariette Hartley when she kissed Spock in the cave.
Never that was one of the first ones where Spock had emotion.
Had a little bit of a romance thing going.
He had gone back to his Vulcan Neanderthal roots.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a couple of silent classics from Kino. G.W. Pabst's Diary of a Lost Girl, which is clearly a pre-code thing. It is, of course, a German film, so they're not dealing with the American code. But man, what a great story! Louise Brooks stars, and it's just her essentially based on one of those famous novels about, and there are tons of them, from Victorian era and before, about women who just take a wrong turn in life, and next thing you know, they're just they're being raped, they're whores, they're in brothels, they're being sold into slavery, whatever. It's just the horrible turn that one mistake will make in a woman's life. And this is one of those, but it's still good. It's really good because Louise Brooks is an amazing actress. And this is from 1929. Very, very nicely done. The intertitles are the original German intertitles, so there's English subtitling for the intertitles, just so that people know that. But it's really a beautiful, beautiful transfer. Kino did a great job. And then also, even better, is Lon Chaney in the amazing Phantom of the Opera, a 2-disc Blu-ray, which... I shouldn't need to say anything about this. It's got all the great stuff in it. The alternate 1925 release, all kinds of screenplays here. The original trailer. There's an interview with the composer. Really, just first rate all the way across. So this is your final version that you will ever need to have of the original silent Lon Chaney Phantom of the Opera. Really, really great.
Wait. I lost my voice
you
there
had
for a second. What was that?
You had a toad in your throat.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's not really great? I feel we need to end the show with this one. So you do whatever you have to do, and then we'll end the show with this one.
Well, I thought we should end the show with this one.
No, we're going to end the show with this one.
Okay, well then, why don't I do this? Why don't I just go quickly through the Warner Archive titles? All these are DVD-Rs. They're manufacturer on demand, MOD, Neil Simon's Plaza Suite, Walter Matthau, Irrepressibly Funny. That is out again. Produced by Howard Koch, written by Neil Simon. There's a theme here. Howard Koch, right? There's a theme. Maurice Jarre, great score, fun movie. Directed by Arthur Hiller, a man with hair that will not quit. Twice Upon a Time, this was just a mess of an animated film. It just felt like George Lucas decided to try to do really a bad animated version of something that Rankin Bass would never have wanted to touch. Anyway, Twice Upon a Time, total misfire, but it's a weird thing. It's a weird off Lucas thing that he was doing after Star Wars was making him rich, and he got bored, and he decided to produce this. Directed by John Cordy, who never really had a career thereafter. It's a curio, as they say. The Beginning or the End, sweet noir from MGM. Really an incredibly underrated film. Directed by Norman Taurog, who would, of course, do many, many great comedies, including some Jerry Lewis stuff. This is essentially, it is kind of a noirish look at the development of the atomic bomb, and I think it's really good. I think it dates really, really well, and I like it. I think it's a good film. Kay Francis in Confession, which, if you don't... Kay Francis is kind of faded from the... from our conversation a little bit, but she's worth rediscovering. This is a really solid drama with great supporting performances and a wonderful lead performance with Kay Francis, who does a really, really good job. Good kind of family drama, troubled relationship stuff, and a really good screenplay by Hans Rameau, which was adapted into English by Julius Epstein, which I think is an interesting credit. And then Volume 1 of the Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy collection. They made a million musicals together, and they're all kind of the same, and they both had lovely voices, and my mother could not get enough of the two of these. I never really got the appeal, but man, it captured audiences at a certain point in time. So you get 4 films here: Naughty Marietta, Rosemarie, Maytime, and The Girl of the Golden West. If you're a Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy fan and you've been wondering where their movies are on DVD or Blu-ray, they are finally out, courtesy of the Warner Archive Collection, and this is Volume 1. There is more where that came from. And then before I turn this over to Mark for our final title, I'm going to give you our penultimate title, which is the amazing, the wonderful, the great Murder My Sweet, which gets the Warner Archive Blu-ray treatment. This is an Eddie Dmytryk film. Eddie Dmytryk made lots of really, really great noirs, and this is easily one of his best, if not the very best that he made. Otto Kruger, Claire Trevor, and the amazing Dick Powell, they just kill it in this amazing adaptation of the Raymond Chandler novel. This is absolutely first-rate. Eddie Dmytryk just nails it. This is as good as noir ever gets, and it is gorgeous on Blu-ray.
Wait, you know it's not gorgeous on Blu-ray or DVD or 8-track cassette or VHS?
I have no idea, Mark.
Manos Hands of Fate. Manos Hands of Fate.
Finally on Blu-ray.
Is directed, the only film ever directed by Texas fertilizer salesman Harold Warren. There's an apocryphal story about how this got made. I guess that Warren, I don't know if this is true or not, but Warren had a walk-on the show Route 66. Route 66 was co-created by Sterling Silliphant. And so supposedly Warren got into a conversation with Sterling Silliphant and made a bet where Warren said anybody could write a horror film. They're so easy to write.
Yeah.
So Sterling said,
it was one of those legendary,
go ahead and write one.
One of those legendary bets.
Well, I don't know if it's true or not, but he did write one, and he wrote the worst one ever made. And this movie is just filled with...
But it's legend. It's a cult film.
It is.
It's like The Room or Plan 9. It's right there in that league.
Absolutely, 100%. It's very much like The Room or Plan 9.
Yeah.
You know what? There's just continuity errors everywhere. Horrible performances. Scenes are like, why are they making out? Who are they? What did they just do? Why are they not coming back ever? What's the deal? And it's just great. And the movie is really most notable, obviously, as you know, from its treatment on Mystery Science Theater 3000. In fact, that was kind of the one that
resurrected it. Yeah,
got them a little over the hump in terms of recognition.
It took it out of the cult world. It took it out of the world of conventions and midnight movies, and it sort of put it into the mainstream a little bit.
So the thing is that this is the actual Manos Hands of Fate.
Without heads in the way and talking and
That's
jokes.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no audio commentary with some of the surviving cast members. And there's a funny featurette about the hand called The Felt, the Hand Puppets of Fate. The movie is like, hand puppet form. And yeah, so it's a 2K restoration. This is a very low budget film. It was made for about $20,000 at the time. So don't expect much in terms of beautiful picture, but yeah, Manos Hands of Fate. This is a great potential Halloween. Put it on a loop at Halloween and enjoy the horrible goodness of Manos.
All right, and with that, we are out. We will see you next week for our Halloween show.